And we are live, I think so. As usual, I need to double check that everything is working because I am an overthinker, and I need to check everything. So, hello everyone. I hope you're having a nice day today. It's already 6 p.m. for me in Valencia, Spain, where I'm based. And I wanted to test out how streaming at this time would work. For me, I want to see if maybe we can get maybe people from the US or Latin America that are watching. And yeah, we're going to test that out today. Maybe no, maybe it won't work, maybe it will. We'll find out. So, last stream, we were working on our Ruby SDK for OpenFGA, and we were also talking a little bit about coffee, as usual. And I think by last week, I still had a broken espresso machine. And so I got a new one. And it works. It works very well. But today, of all days, it actually started making a weird noise when you're grinding the coffee. And so I spent like a good 20 minutes trying to figure out what was going on. And it seems that the settings of the grinder were set to like the finest setting, I guess. And so it was making a weird noise. It was like it was getting stuck. So after changing that, it seemed to have stopped. But we will see. I really, really hope that after a week, this machine is not going to break like the other one. So fingers crossed. And it's not me. I'm following the instructions. It's just luck, I guess. So what do we have today? Today, because it's 6 p.m., you'll understand that I'm not drinking coffee right now. Also, I had way too much caffeine today. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm actually standing up and speaking so fast, because I still have that amount of caffeine in me. But I'm not drinking coffee right now. I did, however, got some new beans. And I thought I'm going to show you those beans and talk about those beans before we start, because why not? And so these are the beans that I got. These are from a local roaster here in Valencia. And these coffee beans are from Honduras, which is Central America, in case you didn't know. And it says it has notes of, wait, it's in Spanish. I need to translate in my head. Chocolate con leche, milk chocolate, caramel, almonds, and lemon. And it has like a fruity profile to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and smell it and let you know. I should have smelled it first and let you know if I, I mean, the only one that I can really smell in this one is the almonds and the chocolate. But to be fair, that's literally the only note that I can find in coffee when I smell them like that. I wish I was one of those people that actually, find the coffee, smell it, and they're like, yeah, it has notes of peach and this and that, but I'm not. But it's actually good. So it smells really good. I'm going to try it out tomorrow, and I will let you know how that goes. So let me open the chat. I always forget to open the chat just in case. Awesome. Okay, that's in terms of coffee news. And now let's talk about what has been going on with the OpenFGA Ruby SDK. And if you'll notice, there's a new link here that I put. That link will take you to some good documentation if you want to find out more about OpenFGA, the API, the playground, and all sorts of things. So I'll just keep it in there pinned for you to use. Nice. Last week, let me actually check the last thing we did last week, because I do not remember, and I am a person that writes things down. Yes, last week we started working on the authorization model. But let's go back to that. So I'm going to share my screen. This is the right screen, because we started working on that, but at the same time, I also had to pull some changes from this screen, not this screen, this screen. Am I sharing the right screen? Yes. Okay, so we started working on the authorization model endpoints, but some things happened in the middle of it. So I'm gonna see if I can show you directly from GitHub. I think it's in another branch. So let's go over here. My colleague started working on defining a client for the endpoints and whatnot. And so last week when we started working on this, I didn't have these changes. So what I did today was kind of like base my new branch from here. So we have that and we'll figure that out today. But basically, what's going on here is we now have an OpenFGA client class in here. And this class kind of contains all the methods that can be reused within the different endpoint classes. So everything inside the API folder. So basically, I moved the make request method here, the raise error from response method, and the deserialize method. And I think there's a couple more. These were generated, as you can see from the nice comments above. I did not write those comments, but I will at some point. And so because I made these changes, I also added an attribute reader for stores. And the idea, and this is still in discussion, okay? This is nothing set in stone here. We're just testing out how does it feel like? Does it feel native to do it like this? Because basically by adding this attribute reader here, you can allow whoever is using this SDK to do things like OpenFGA client.stores.create, for example. And it kind of feels idiomatic to Ruby to do it like that. But like I said, it's still TBD if that's where we're going to. But for now, we're going to do it like that and see where we get at. So yeah, I added this attribute reader here, and I'm instantiating the stores API class with this OpenFGA client. And if we go to this class, right now it's actually a pretty small class. If you look at it, it only has like the constructor and one method per request. So one for create, one for list. I have an eyelash in my eye. Or maybe my eyes are twitching because I had too much coffee. No, I'm just kidding. It's just an eyelash. So we have the create method, we have the list method, get and delete. And they're all pretty similar. They just handle the responses differently. So for each different request, we have a different response object. And these objects or models, as we're going to call them, are coming from the OpenAPI generated code. Now, last week, someone asked me, what do you mean by generated code? So I'm going to do a little recap on that. All the models that I have here were generated using the OpenAPI generator. And what that does is you give it your, I think it's your Swagger documentation, and then you can generate an API for those docs. And so that's what we did. That's why I have all these models here, and that's what I'm using. Something to think about that I'm not sure if we're going to do or not is to also you see how we have create store response, list stores response. So we have these models for the responses, but I also have some for the request. So for example, for the body of create a new store, let's see if we can find it. There is a create store model here, and it's pretty simple. It really just only has the name, but I'm not sure yet if I want to use them in the Oh, I closed my file. If I want to use them in the actual API, because like I said, it's just the name in this case. We're probably going to see today that, you know, they're not all so nice and simple like this one. So yeah, and we are getting a new instance of the OpenFGA client in here because of this. So in the past, my stores API was actually like a static class, right? Like couldn't instantiate it or anything. And so all my tests broke, which is great because I think I would be more scared if nothing breaks. But they all broke. So I had to go to my tests and fix that. And so now what I'm doing is I'm creating a new variable here called API client. And we are just creating we're just mocking that. And yeah, mocking also that it can use the make request and the serialized methods and whatnot. And I changed that in all of my tests, and I think they all ran. We can give it a try. Boom, all red. Okay, now they worked. My luck would be that they all break just now for the stream. But they did it, so that's good. So let's talk about the authorization model endpoints. Let me put these beans away because I feel like I'm gonna drop them. Alrighty. I don't think I've written any code for this right now. In fact, this is all code. So let's take a look at the docs, OpenFGA API. Oh, I don't have it there. Let's go to the API and see what we're trying to do. So stores endpoints are done in theory. Now we're talking about authorization models. So let's talk about authorization models a little bit. In OpenFGA, the way you define your authorization system is within a store. And so in that store, you can have one or many authorization models. In the authorization model is where you define who can do what and under which conditions. So that's basically where all the rules of your system live. Like, can this user do this? Is this user able to do that? Literally, that's where you define all of this kind of stuff. So this is a pretty important set of endpoints, particularly the create new authorization model one, I would say. But let me show you quickly with an example. Do I have a playground? No. Let's go to openfga.dev and find the playground. Where are you, playground? It's play.fga.dev. It's here. I'm going to skip this because I know this already. So let's look at a more simple example. Although the GitHub example could be a good one, but let's go with the expenses one because I think it's quite short and like to the point. And let me zoom in because I'm not sure you can even read that. Like that, maybe even more. Yep, that's good. Okay. Put this down as well. So in this case, the store would be this thing called expenses here, and the authorization model is this file defined here. So there are two ways that you can write this authorization model, basically. One is using OpenFGA's domain-specific language, which is this one that you're looking at right now, and one is in JSON. For me personally, I find it easier to read it in DSL because it is like if I'm reading plain English, like the type employee has the relation can manage, and the can manage relation implies this and that. And so it's more natural for me. Now, You do you. If you like JSON, please use JSON. The thing is, when interacting with the API, when we want to create a new authorization model, we have to define that in JSON, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that. Yep, because it's a REST API. So the good thing about it is that if you're programming this, like if you're working on this, you could probably do this you're like me that prefer DSL, you can probably do this here, define all your relations, your types and whatnot, and then you can just copy your authorization model as a JSON and create your, and like make the post request to the API. But let's take a look at this example here. So this is an example body that they're saying. So the first thing that we have is the type definitions. And so in this case, put this in silence. Thank you very much. The first thing that we have is a document and the type document, and then we have a list, no, not a list, an array, not an array, an object of relations. So we have the relation reader and writer. You see, for me, it's definitely trickier to read it in JSON. And then we have some metadata, relations, group member. Maybe there, I think the example of what's happening here in DSL. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Let's take a look. It's not. So we're gonna have to work with the JSON file. That's good. Okay. I think I'm gonna stick with the expenses example just because it's a short one and it's cute. I'm going to, and not sure if I'm even gonna use this right now, but I'm going to save this in here as a new file. And let me take a look. Let me save this as, whoops. Let's call it authorization. No, something better. Come on, expenses, authorization, model.json. Okay. And you see, in comparison to the DSL, this is like way longer. But hey, we gotta stick with JSON, okay? So we have the type employee with the relations can manage, and a manager should be there, yes. And then we have, manager, and then we have the type report with it relations that are submitter and approver. Where's the approver? Here it is. Okay, so everything's in there. And I'm going to keep it there for now. But the thing is, in order to create a new authorization model, I need to send the type definition like this. And I'm not sure if it's the same. Or should I use this example instead? Let's give it a try with this one. Who knows? Maybe it will work. Okay, so here's our authorization models API. Let's be super honest with each other and not the delete, but I'm going to copy these methods because I think they're going to be quite similar. I'm going to copy from the source API and I'm going to paste it here and I'm going to see what's going to change. So the first thing is I have the constructor that is going to receive an API client, and I'm putting that in an instance variable. The first method is the create method. And in this case, we're not receiving a name, we're receiving an authorization model in JSON. Then we're making a post request to, and this is something that's going to change. The URL would be, please remind me to do not drink that much coffee before a stream. I want to copy this. Okay. There's a big button here that says copy. So I'm not, did this work? Yeah, it did work. So I want to make a post request to stores store ID. Okay, for now I'm going to pass a store ID in the create method. I don't know if I'm going to leave it there, but just to, to see how that goes. And this goes like this. We are interpolate. Oh, what's the word? Interpolating? String interpolation. Yes, that's the word. The store ID variable, and so authorization models, and we are passing the body, and the body is going to be authorization model. Copilot wants to put to JSON, but we don't know if we're going to do that yet. And then this part is going to be quite similar, although we need to make sure that we are deserializing this response into the appropriate response, which in this case, let's take a look at our models, would be something about authorization model. We have an authorization model here, but that's not about the response. I think it's in write authorization model, maybe. So this is a write authorization model request, and we have a write authorization model response. So this is the class that I'm going to use to deserialize this into. Awesome. We can also get a list of authorization models, and the URL is the same. The difference is this is a get request instead. Ooh, store ID again. I think I'm gonna have to keep passing the store ID if I'm not mistaken. Let me collapse this for a moment. So yeah, store ID is everywhere. So I might as well pass this as a as part of the constructor here. Again, we'll see if this makes sense in like half an hour. Store ID. Okay, and then let's get rid of this here. I don't know if when you're programming, this is part of your process. I think a lot of people write the whole thing and then they start making small changes. I kind of like made the changes as I go. I'm not saying one is better than the other, honestly. It's just, it's everyone's process, because programming is a creative process. And so it's different for everyone. Yes, and I'm using this as an instance variable. So that way I don't have to send it here. I don't have to do this here. We want to raise an error if there's a response, and we're going to deserialize into, let's take a look. If it's not on the list, it's going to be on the read. Read authorization models, plural, response. And this is going to return a list of authorization models and a continuation token. Let's make sure that is actually the case. Indeed, we have an array of authorization models and a continuation token. So let's use that. I'm going to use that here. Cool. The next thing is getting a list of, no, sorry, not a list, getting one single authorization model. So instead of the store ID, I'm going to say authorization model ID. The URL is similar, but if we're consistent, we need to pass the authorization model ID at the very end. We want to raise an error if it's not a success, and then we're going to deserialize this response into, there's probably another read model here. Let's take a look. This one, read authorization model response, which has only one authorization model. And I think it's only the ID and nothing else, to be honest. Oh no, it's the whole authorization model. What am I saying? I'm sorry. It's 6:30 p.m. What can I say? So, oops, where am I? Here. Copy this. And we're going to change it out. So this looks great. This looks nice. Chances are, if I, put some tests for it, it's going to break, which again is great. I don't trust green tests that, after a change are still green. I make it fail on purpose to make sure that, they're working. Okay. Let's write some tests and see how this works. Because this is how I actually figure out if what I wrote made sense. I'm going to use my friend Copilot for the tests. So right now I'm in the current file and I'm going to go ahead and create this file already to stores API spec. I'm going to create an authorization model, authorization API. API spec.rb, and then with this in mind, I'm going to ask Copilot to generate tests for the methods in authorizations API authorization model. Wait, how do you? Okay, authorization models API.rb. Let's see what we get. Something weird. Ask about your workspace. What do you want from me? What's this? Oh my god. What's this? Oh, this is the actual stuff. It took it kind of like glitched on me. I don't know. But we're using it. Okay, so we have a this looks okay, but I really hope it fails. Let's take a look. Oh, it's even writing it for me. Thank you, Copilot. Now, oh, why is this here? Interesting. Do I want that there? No, I want this. Oof, where am I? By the way, I just realized this JSON file is in like the wrong place, but we'll fix that in a minute. So let's see what Copilot gave us here. We have the API instance, which is great. And it's creating different, I guess, describe blocks, one for create, one for get. I prefer contexts, but that's a personal preference. And then it says it creates a new authorization. Okay, this is definitely not using the code that I was referring to. So let's see if, let's gonna give it another chance. I'm gonna give it another chance. Maybe I can do tests, generate unit tests for authorization. Okay, let me get the right name. Authorizations API. Of course, the name's all wrong. That's probably why I was so confused. Authorization models API.rb. Let's see if that works better. Sure, here are the unit tests for this file, focusing on on initialize method and other methods. Okay. This looks better. So I'm gonna copy it. I don't personally like it when it writes for me. This file name is wrong. The file should be authorization models API spec. And then here we're going to paste this. And I'm going to close Copilot for now so we can look at the code. Am I zooming a little bit more? Yeah, probably better. Okay, so what's going on here? Describe OpenFGA authorization models API. We have the API client, we have a store ID, which makes sense. And it's using store one. I'm going to go ahead and just grab a random store ID from here. Maybe they have an example. Just to be more, something like this probably makes sense. API instance. Okay, let's create an instance of the API. I don't like the name. I'll name in a minute. Authorization models API new, and it's passing the API client as well as the store ID. If you hear something, that is my dog. She probably wants out, but not right now. She's also still wearing the cone of shame. I don't know if I already told you this, but a couple of weeks ago, she hurt herself, and now she's wearing a cone. You need to leave it. I'm working. Okay. Okay, it's doing a test for the initialize method, which I don't think we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. And so we have one for creating a new authorization model, but I guess this is only the happy path. We don't get the error handling. One for list and one for get. That's fair. What happens if I run these tests? Just out of curiosity. Let's run only these files. So this file is under spec, OpenFGA, API, authorization model spec. Great. 3 examples, 3 failures, which is exactly what I was expecting, thankfully. So let's go ahead and fix this, okay? First things first. I prefer a context here. And like I said, this is a personal preference. And instead of saying the name of the method, I like to be like a little bit more verbose and say when creating an authorization model. And then inside the actual test, I would say it returns 201. Actually, let me check what it 200 actually. Give me 1 second, because my dog needs out. And I can't take her out right now. Maybe she wants water. Okay, where was I? So yeah, when creating an authorization model, it returns 200. So what's going on here? Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to take a little break to give her water, or no? Yes, I am. So 1 second and I'll be back. I am back. So we were talking about the test for when creating an authorization model. So we're going to say that it returns 200, and we have everything we need here. We have an API client, store ID, and API instance. I'm going to say, she still wants out, I'm telling you. I'm going to say that for the API client, I might actually use a better mock like this one, where I'm actually passing a URL and stuff, instead of instantiating a double here, which is not much. And then API instance, I'm going to rename this to authorization model API, just like that. And we'll create a new instance of this. Nice. So when creating an authorization model, it returns 200. Cute that we say that this is the authorization model JSON. So the response is going to be a success, and we're going to allow the API client to receive these 3 methods and return different things. So I think here, instead of returning this, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's see. And then authorization model API dot create with this, and then have received. I mean, I prefer, honestly, when it comes to testing, let me know what you prefer, but I have 3 expectations here, like 3 different things. I prefer to have 1 per test. Like if I want to test something else, then I would just separate it. I don't think we need to expect that the API client receive this with this and return blah. We're actually, what I want to test is that the result of making this request was that the authorization model was created. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I don't think we need it. And then the result, you know what? Let's run this test and see what we get. I'm going to put a binding price here, which is kind of like a breakpoint, but in the terminal. Why? Because I like it. So I'm going to run this test, and this test is the one on line 12. So let's see what we get. Well, it didn't even get to that point. So let's try to fix those. On initialize constant OpenFGA client. That is true. You know why? Because we're probably not even importing it. Correct. Require OpenFGA client. There we go. Second time. See if it's the charm. Nope. Stores API. Okay, that's because I probably copied something. Which line? Initialize constant stores API. Oh, yes, in the OpenFGA client line 9. You know why? Because again, I need to require that. Require the stores API. There we go. 3rd time's the charm to get to the binding price? Yes, it was nice. So here I'm basically trying to see what this method is going to return. So if I do result, we literally got right authorization model response, which is absolutely not what we want. We want an actual response. So I'm thinking, let's exit that. Oh, and that worked. I don't like that. So for the authorization model, we're passing this very simple model, meaning that for the response, that is definitely not what we want to pass, but assuming that it is, like the create one, this one. So for the response of the body, all of that, this is the result that we want. So we want an authorization model ID and some random ID, right? So let's put here authorization model result, and I'm going to put it like this. And this is a hash. This is what I would like to have. No, in fact, what I would like to have is a right authorization model response with this data. So if we look at that model, right authorization model response. That's all we want. Just going back to my file. Yeah, I'm just looking at the way I did it in the previous, in the stores API endpoints, which I think can work for this one, just because it's a small response, like it's just authorization model ID and the ID. So we can probably get away with using something like this in this spec. Let me close all these files. Close others. I don't need them open right now. So I'm actually going to put it here. So all the tests, no, I actually don't need it here. I was going to say that, so all tests can use this, but the only test that is going to use this is the returns 200 when creating an authorization model. So it doesn't make sense. We're just going to put it here. And instead of a let, we're going to put this like authorization model result. And that's going to be an OpenFGA authorization model response with this data inside. And we can get rid of this line. No. Copy it again. And paste it here. I'm missing some codes here and some here. That looks better. I don't like it when it's passing my ruler. Maybe like this. I'm using Rubocop, so I don't know if it's gonna like it that I'm doing it like this. I don't need this actually. I only needed that for the let. So the result is going to be a reauthorization model response, and what we're expecting is this. Now, do I need to pass this as a hash? Let me check here. No. Well, it's already a hash, the way it's put here, right? Okay, and then for the response, going back to my other file. Ooh, yeah, we should probably add the headers and the body like this. So I'm gonna add this because our good friend Copilot didn't add this. We can just, you know, I like having like a starting point with tests and then fixing them. I don't know why. I don't enjoy starting them from scratch. I don't know about you. So response is going to receive header and return content type application JSON. Response is going to receive body and return. In our case, we want to have this as the response. Can we reuse that? Probably, but for now, let's put it like this. And then we're going to allow the API client to receive my request and return response. And we agree that the response is of that form. And then we are going to allow the API client to receive the serialized and return, and we're not going to return this as a string, we're actually going to return the authorization model result variable here. And then to receive raise error from response, I don't think I need this right now. Let's look at the other one. Yeah, I don't, because I don't want to test the error right now. I want to test the happy path first. And so we're going to do authorization model API create with this authorization model. Now, bear in mind, for the authorization model, let's just pass a very simple hash. So in this case, it was all of this. I'm going to say something like this, because I just want to see what we get. Type definition, this closes here and this closes here, and another one. And then maybe we'll make it look prettier. You know what? Even simpler. Like even, ew. I don't know. I'm making it up. So I'm going to create it with this. And as a result, I'm going to get some value. Let's see. And the result, I'm not going to test the result just yet. I want to see what the binding price gives me. So running this test. This is still on line 12, correct. We got a failure. On initial, I am an expert on like not requiring things. OpenFGA, this one, thank you for the autocomplete. On the find local variable or method response on line 20. Yes, because I somehow deleted the, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. I deleted the response. Okay. And we get it from here because we just need a response from here. And I'm going to put it out here for now and see. Oh, apparently got an error. So, oh, wait. I tried to run all my tests. I only want to run the one on line 14 for now. I have an error saying on initial constant FGA client API error. I'm not really using that right now here. On line 27. But apparently I am getting that error. So let's take a look at my file here. Probably need to require, and that's probably where the error is coming from. API slash API error, I think. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, different error. What did I write? Because now it's telling me like, what are you doing, girl? OpenFGA. Hey, it's not under API. That's it. Okay, instance double net success, receive an expected message code with no args. That's probably because I'm getting some error, which is good, but I want to see where the error is happening. It's happening on line 35, but if we keep digging, it's happening here because I'm not getting a response. What am I? I'm not getting a 200. I'm getting some error. You know why? Because we're probably not sending this as a JSON. Let me check the make request because I'm pretty sure I put that as a JSON here. I did. So let's take a look at what we're getting here. right here and see how this looks. So response at this point is this, nice thing that I'm obviously mocking. And authorization model is this horrible thing. And so response is definitely a HTTP success. So I'm wondering why you're raising an error. So let's say header, am I using the same ID? Yes. Authorization model, make request and return response, receive the serial and return authorization model result. And we're gonna create here. I mean, fair if you give me an error for sending some random JSON here, but we haven't even gotten there. I'm getting an error and I want to understand why. Authorization model ID. It could be that I'm sending some random stuff in here. So I could read from a file, from like a JSON file, and pass that. So, but I don't really want to like, this is what happens when you trust Copilot too much, because now I'm stuck on its code. So I'm going to look at my code for the previous one, particularly the create one. Here we're kind of like, oh, I know what I'm missing. I think so. So I think when I'm mocking the serialize, we are allowing the API client to receive the serialize with the response and the name of the model, and then return whatever I want. I'm not sure if I'm doing that here. To receive the serialize with response and write this and return the authorization model. Let's see. Where did my terminal go? Test it out. Okay. No, that was my old binding prime, isn't it? Yeah. No, I'm gonna remove that one because I don't want it anymore. Okay. So let me clear this, run it again. Receive unexpected message code with no args. Yes, because I don't want you to go to that route. I want to understand what's going on. It's happening on line 21, but line 21 is all of this. Response, So going back to my thingy, which I said I didn't want, but I actually do, is response this, false. It's because I'm putting a double, isn't it? It is. I think I used to have like kind of. No, not kind of, kind. What's the name of this method? Let me see. Yeah, it was kind of false. Okay. It's false for both of them. So in here, why do you work? It's a success. And then when you do the thing, guess what you're not mocking? And I'm talking to myself. Literally the piece that is failing. Okay, I need to mark that as well. Go down. Let's put it here. So now you're not gonna fail there. You're probably gonna fail somewhere else. I'm gonna remove this binding prime. Hopefully I don't regret it. And I got to my other binding price, which was the initial one. So let's see what result is. Result is this write authorization response with some data in there, and then obviously that expectation is going to fail because it's not the same. In our case, we would like to do it the same way here. I would say, yeah, I would compare the ID to the one in the write authorization model response. So kind of like this. Instead of using Copilot, honestly, I could have used my already created file that I had and avoid all of this. So result.id has to be, it's not going to be .id. It's actually going to be whatever this model has. So in our case, write authorization model, we can do dot authorization model ID. Yes. So let's test that out. So result.authorization model ID to be equal to this. And let's see. Just want to make sure that the result that I'm mocking here, deserialize, and return that result, right? Do I need this instance double here though? Because I'm not sure. I did use it here, so let me do it the same way because I did it like that. Let's see. Did I leave my binding price there? Yes. Okay, so result. Can I do result dot authorization dash model ID? Yeah, so this should pass. Okay, we fixed the test. Took a lot, but we fixed it. I think it would make more sense to, instead of mocking it with this like very sad hash, it would be good to have like a fake authorization model, one of the examples maybe, and read that file and put it in there. Because otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I just think it will be a little bit more complete. But we fixed this test. That's nice. I'm using the same store ID for the authorization model. So let me change just like something. So we're not using the same actual string. Cool. Okay, but that's that thing. Now, if we want to make it fail, this is the happy path, right? So then we should have another one. Let me minimize this. We should have another one. It gives, I don't know, let's see the errors that we can get when creating a new authorization model. So we can get a 201. Fun fact, we get a 201, not a 200, but that's still a successful response, which is kind of the check that I'm doing. So that's fine. We can get a 400. And I think this would be a good one when we send like a random JSON instead. Or we get for a 143 incorrect path and whatnot. So I'm gonna do, sorry. It gives, what was it called? 400. Let me get rid of this it word from here. Returns 200, returns 400. In this case, and I'm not gonna trust Copilot anymore for now, I'm gonna go ahead and copy this because I think this one's going to be similar. In this case, the response is going to be a HTTP response with a code 400 but request. And for the message, this actually code is going to be, it has a code in the message, right? So let's copy the message then as generic validation error. Could be bad request, but I'm going to say generic validation error. And in the body, we can probably, ooh, 1 second. What happens if I click here? Nice. Cute. Here we're gonna have code validation error, and then message. Oi, what did I do? Generic validation error, and then for that second message I had there, I just leave that request. And now let me, can I Robocop just one file? Robocop, can I just pass like a single file? I don't want it to do all of it. Like I wanted to fix it, but only, list target files, autocorrect all, TBD, if I can do it. I'm not gonna risk it right now. Because when I run Robocop, I'll just let it go through all the files, but not when I'm live. Because then I'm gonna have to fix things. Okay, so yeah, we have that instance, and then we're gonna allow the API client to receive my request with post, and then the URL is not that one. It's actually I don't need this because I already have an API client, so I don't need this. I need this one, which is shorter. So I'm going to use this one. And allow response to receive is and return false, because in this case we don't want it to be a success. And then allow response to receive a message and return that request. So we're going to do API client dot this is where I'm gonna break my other test, because you see how here I'm doing API client dot stores dot create, and that looks beautiful. Well, in my happy path test, I called directly the API and I was like create. When in reality, what I should do, or what I want to do, is to call this API through the API client. So what should happen here is API client dot authorization model dot create, or authorization models dot create, and that implies some changes, which we're going to talk about in the next live stream, because we are off time. And Dasha did go out. Dasha's my dog, but she's still, you can't see it now. She's still laying next to me, looking at me like, please pay attention to me. So it is time for me to go. Next week, we'll probably going to continue working on this, or probably give you an update of what I did, and hopefully continue working on the SDK and see where we get for next week. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope you have a nice rest of the day or of the night. I don't know where you are.